Welcome to Algeomulus Prep Academy. Today's lesson is the average value theorem. The average value theorem is a formula which is f of c is equal to 1 over b minus a times the integral of a to b of f of x dx. The function f must be integrable, and it must be integrable on the closed interval of a to b. This is a graphical representation of the average value theorem. F of c, the dotted line, is the average value, and we can see the closed interval from a to b and how the function is continuous along this area.
For problem 1, we are asked to find the average value of the function f of x equals x cubed plus 3x squared minus x over the interval 2 to 4.
The average value of f of x is the integral of a to b of f of x dx. So the average value of f of x equals x cubed plus 3x squared minus x is 1 over 4 minus 2 times the integral of 2 to 4 of x cubed plus 3x squared minus x dx. After simplification and using basic integration rules, we find that we get 1/2 times 1/4 x to the 4th plus 3 over 3x cubed minus 1/2 x squared over the interval 2 to 4. After further simplification, this is what we get. So your final answer should be 55. For problem 2, we want to find the average value of f of x equals 2 cosine x plus 4x plus 5 over the interval pi to 2 pi. As previously mentioned, this is the formula that can be used to find the average value over the closed interval a to b. Set up the equation by plugging each number into the respective part of its formula. Use trig rules and basic integration rules to find the indefinite integral. So you should get 1 over pi times 2 sine x plus 4 over 2x squared plus 5x from pi to 2 pi. Plug in the limits of the integral into the equation. So you should get 1 over pi times 2 sine 2 pi plus 2 times 2 pi squared plus 5 times 2 pi minus 2 sine pi plus 2 pi squared plus 5 times pi. Then simplify. After simplifying, you should get 1 over pi times 0 plus 8 pi squared plus 10 pi minus 0 minus 2 pi squared minus 5 pi, which all culminates to 1 over pi times 6 pi squared plus 5 pi plus 0 over pi. So you should just get 6 pi plus 5, which is 23.849.
For problem 3, we are given this function and asked to find the average value on the closed interval of -1 to 1. For this problem, because the function is piecewise and we can only find the average value of an integrable function, we must use the continuity test. Part 1 of the continuity test states that the limit of the function must exist. By finding the limit at x equals 0 of f of x is equal to 1 minus 3 sine x, because that is the function that has the value of 0, and 0 is where the piecewise function may be split, we can see that it equals 1. Part 2 of the continuity test states that the function must exist. So we plug in 0 to f of x is equal to 1 minus 3 sine x and find that it equals 1. Part 3 states that parts 1 and 2 must be equal to each other. Since both parts are equal to 1, we can conclude that the function is continuous, which means that we can use the average value theorem on this function. The average value of a function can be given by the formula 1 over b minus a times the integral of a to b of f of x dx, which in this case is 1 over 1 minus -1 times the integral of 1 to -1 of the f of x dx.
We must separate out the integral because the function is piecewise and it is two different integrated functions. This equals 1/2 times the integral of -1 to 0 of 1 minus 3 sine of x dx plus the integral of 0 to 1 of e to the negative 9x power dx. After integrating the function, we can see that the function is 1/2 times x plus 3 cosine of x from -1 to 0 plus -1/9 e to the 9x power from 0 to 1. We then plug in the values to the functions. After simplifying, it will be 1/2 times 3 plus 1 minus 3 times the cosine of -1 minus 1/9 times e to the negative 9 power plus 1/9. After simplifying, the average value will equal 37 over 18 minus 3/2 times the cosine of -1 minus 1/18 times e to the negative 9 power, or 1.245.
Thank you for watching our video. Please like and subscribe to future Algebra Prep Academy videos.